Hey guys, Smith Spear here, how y'all doing? And welcome back to another fine episode of Seduce Me to the Demon Word, and without any further ado, guys, let's just jump right into it. This went on all the way until our wedding day. Somehow Erik managed to deal with me the entire time, enthralling me with things became rough to keep me calm. The other incubi tried to decipher what was going on with me, but none of them could figure it out. I find it funny that Damien couldn't figure it out. He could read thoughts, right? This is PMSing. I was going to marry Erik, and then I was going to figure out what was wrong with me. I knew I still loved him with every inch of my heart, my body, and soul. So feeling disdain like this was not natural for me. I had asked Erik to place me under enthrallment for our wedding in case I lashed out again. He reluctantly agreed and stayed with me the morning of our wedding day. I was supposed to dress alone and be by myself, but I needed Erik to keep me in. I felt ridiculously warm and fuzzy as I stood in the bathroom. Having come out of a hot shower with Erik, we didn't do anything together, but we remained close enough to keep me enthralled and remained energized enough to maintain the enthrallment. Erik gently ran my brush through the strands of my hair, being as sweet and caring as he always was towards me. Because of the enthrallment, I felt each stroke and derived so much pleasure from his brushing. It was hard not to moan. Oh no!
Well, love, today's the big day.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
I truly hope so. I'm the happiest man alive to be able to soon call you my wife.
I want to be your wife. I want you to be my husband. I felt like crying. Why did I have to be enthralled to say such things? I really loved him, but somehow I couldn't bring myself to say it without him casting his spell over me. Erik looked at me through the bathroom mirror and gently smiled, believing me and placing a small kiss on my cheek.
By the way, are you using a new soap?
Huh? I looked at Erik, unsure of what he meant. I had used the same soap I always use, so my scent shouldn't have been different. He just sniffed my hair. Oh, that's a little creepy. Erik tilted his head and gently inhaled again before smiling a little wider.
You smell different. I kind of like it.
I blushed, not because of the enthrallment, but because I didn't know I had a different smell. Was something that off about me? It couldn't have been that drastic, right? Erik finished brushing my hair and smiled, kissing my head.
All right, time for you to get into your dress. I'm afraid that I can't join in dressing you as much as I want to. Can't see the bride in her gown before the wedding. I also have to get to the ceremony venue to get my tuxedo. However, my enthrallment should stay on you until you arrive.
I tried to fight back, but Erik held up his finger.
No. I promise that everything will be okay. As soon as I see you, I'll enthrall you again, and we can go through the ceremony as planned. Okay?
As much as I wanted to fight it, I was thankful that Erik was willing to go through all of this to make sure that I wouldn't throw a fit despite me not wanting to in the first place. I agreed and earned a small kiss from him, which I relished.
All right. I love you. I'll see you soon.
I nodded, smiling back at him before he slipped on his regular clothes and left the mansion. I felt the enthrallment on me ebb and flow through my body, so I needed to hurry and get ready before it wore off. I got dressed in the wedding dress of my dreams and smiled as I prepared my hair and jewelry. I really did look like the perfect bride ready for her big day. Why I was acting out against it, I would never know, but I was going to fix this after I say I do. As I stared at myself, I could see a small glow about my body. Was it Erik's spell? I giggled, wrapping my arms around myself and enjoying the feel his spell had on me.
I knew it. I knew it. That girl has demon magic.
What the?
Then quit talking and let's take her. The demon lord will be so pleased.
Who? Before I could turn to search for the voices, I felt hands grab hold of my feet, and I looked down and lifted my dress. Of course, we have the perv imps again. 2 pairs of evil-looking hands had taken hold of my ankles, reaching through a dark red and purple pentagram. I shrieked, trying to pull my legs away, but couldn't stop them as they swiftly pulled me into the ground. Again! I was pulled deeper into the darkness. I was no longer in my room. I was being dragged through a dark void, one that I couldn't escape. I reached out and clawed at the dark, trying to find something to grab onto. I tried to pull my legs away from the hands that were holding them, but couldn't pull free. What was going on? Why was this happening? Someone help me! As if someone had heard my screams, I suddenly felt the hands let go and disappear, leaving me to float in the darkness they left me in. I shut my eyes. Please let this be a dream. Please let this be a dream. I finally felt a surface under my feet, and I collapsed onto it, my body curling in on itself from the experience I had. I didn't dare tear my eyes away from my lap, not ready to get up just yet. The voice I heard, however, made my heart stop.
You! What are you doing here?
I have no clue anymore, Diana. I came here about 2 times in 2 different stories. So, this is number 3. I looked up, finally having the courage to take in my surroundings. My heart stopped beating for a moment, seizing in my chest. I looked up to see 5 figures, strangers, monstrous beings that I didn't recognize. They all looked down at me in surprise, as if I had dropped in at a very bad time. One man looked like an orc from a fantasy game. Without the tusk, he had broken horns and a very frightening aura around him as he stared at me. The other male was lanky in comparison, more human-like, but I could almost feel power emanating from him regardless. One of the women who was staring at me had rabbit ears. Rabbit ears, they twitched on top of her head, and she looked at me and gripped her staff. She seemed harmless, yet she had animal ears? The one creature that I couldn't discern the sex of seemed more excited to see me than surprised. What freaked me out about them was that they had wings sticking out from their back, and they were floating. Okay, now before we continue on, I want to point out something. In the previous paragraph I just read, they said one of the women. One of the women? Are you talking? When you say that, I'm thinking, okay, because we already know that this is Diana. So when she says that, I'm thinking, okay, so this must be the other girl. But then it says we couldn't discern the sex. So this is leaving your readers just a tad little confused on that part. But you know, that's all I have to say. The last woman, however, set off alarm bells in my head as I looked at her, surprised face, her hair, her eyes. Okay. So this is must mean that they are actually, you know, insinuating that there's only 2 women in here, one being the rabbit and the other one being Diana. So I get that point, but it was a little confusing if you ask me. Just a little bit between the two. Between these two. Because the way that it made me feel, you hear the familiar voice. So automatically we know that it's Diana. And then it says that. So that's what got me confused. But then this sentence clears it up immensely. And I'm just explaining on and babbling on. And everybody's probably yelling at me, get on with it. The last woman, however, set off alarm bells in my head as I looked at her surprised face, her hair, her eyes. Diana? As she stared, the woman turned her body towards me in recognition to the name I called her. It was her,
What are you doing here?
Diana walked towards me and stared down at me. It was odd. She didn't look like a human, yet I wasn't afraid of her demon form. As it towered over me, I was more in shock as to what was going on. Before Diana could speak further, most likely to repeat herself, a figure quickly stepped up and bowed to her, kneeling beside her.
My lady, please forgive me. I felt something moving between our worlds and assumed the Demon Lord was to blame, so I intercepted his summoning of this human.
You. So I wasn't the only one who felt the change in the air.
Diana stared at the man kneeling beside me as I kept my eyes up at her. As she turned her gaze back to me, I gulped silently. What was she going to do with me? This all felt wrong. I was about to be married. I was about to live my happily ever after with the man I loved. Now I was in a place I didn't know with Diana, and a bunch of other creatures I didn't recognize. My instinct was to, okay, so I did this one, and I think I did this one. Oh, why don't we just shriek? I had to. My anger and sadness bubbled and boiled until the need to scream pressed against my throat, forcing me to let it go. That was hard on the throat. Good lord. As my scream escaped me, the other beings in the room jumped back and covered their ears. My scream wasn't weak. It was loud and bounced around the room in an endless echo. Okay. I know my scream was weak when I screamed for her character. The only reason for it is I got neighbors, guys. I didn't care if my throat would hurt. I didn't care that I also felt the pain of my shriek. I just needed to scream and let out my sadness. Why was this happening? Why? Why? I rubbed my arms around my body, letting the scream use up all of the air in my lungs. It wasn't helping, but I just needed some sort of release.
Damn it, stop!
She's mad at me now. Oh, shit. All of a sudden, my body began to heat up, and I felt my voice dissipate into silence. I was a little dizzy, but I felt calm and anger, and the anger I had was gone. I stared at Diana, wondering what was going on. Diana had extended her hand out to me, staring at me with a pained expression as her visible eyes glimmered a warm golden color. Was she enthralling me? I didn't feel aroused, but I knew that the warm feeling in my body was a demon enthrallment spell. Regardless, I felt my throat heal from the scream as I tried. Oh my gosh, y'all have a most weird time of popping up, I swear to God. I felt my throat heal from the scream as I stared at Diana.
Are you calm now?
For a human, the girl can really shriek.
Better than the sirens can. That's for sure. Poor thing. She must be traumatized.
Traumatized? Or psychotically mad?
Great.
Everyone, hush!
Silence engulfed the room as Diana looked at the four beings behind her. She then turned back to me and held out her hand, ushering me to take it.
Can you stand?
I nodded and took her hand, standing up at last. I looked around at the other beings in the room. They all kept their gaze to me, unsure of what I would do or say. Diana, however, led the conversation.
First, can you tell me what happened to you?
I took a breath, recounting everything that happened. I was about to go to the church to be married, and then I was attacked by this darkness. A couple of hands grabbed my legs and pulled me into it, and then I fell here.
A shadow summoning.
Diana turned to one of the beings, the lanky male, and glared.
One of yours couldn't have.
On my honor, it wasn't any of mine. We have nothing to gain from kidnapping a human. Nor do we know who this woman is, anyhow.
My lady, if I may, I clearly remember hearing imp demons in the void along with her. It must have been the Demon Lord's henchmen.
Those damnable creatures. That explains it.
Diana crossed her arms and looked to me again.
Well, dear, it seems that you were to be either a new harem girl for the Demon Lord to ravish, or bait for the boys to return to their father's side. Either way, I doubt you would have lived long had the Demon Lord gotten his hands on you.
A violent shiver ran up my spine. Was it true? I would have died.
Wait a minute. This girl knows about the Demon Lord's heirs?
Yes, hilariously enough, she was set to marry one of them, as you can see from her garb.
As Diana motioned towards my dress, I realized how vulnerable I was and felt extremely self-conscious. I wrapped my arms around myself as Diana let out a sigh.
Well, since you do not belong here, the obvious thing to do is to send you home.
I couldn't help but stare wide-eyed at Diana. She was really going to send me home? Really? I couldn't believe my ears. You will really send me back?
Of course. It should be easy to do once everything is in order. It'll be like you never left the human world.
Wait, like I never left the human world? What do you mean by left the human world? Diana stared before chuckling softly and gesturing to the room being within it.
Dear, do you not realize where you are? You are in the demon world.
My mind went blank. It couldn't be. It couldn't be in the demon world. No way. No way in hell. I felt myself back up against the wall behind me and suddenly afraid I was in another world. How? That was impossible. Diana stepped towards me, both of her hands softly trying to show me she meant no harm as she positioned them in front of her body.
Do not panic. We will send you back now, so there's nothing to worry about.
How will you power the spell? Bringing someone here is no easy task, but sending someone back consumes much more energy.
I'll use what energy I have now and rest. We can organize the siege another time when I fully recover. It's not like the Demon Lord can escape the corner we've trapped him in, so we do have some time to spare.
You'd waste time and energy on this human. We must strike now while the Demon Lord is weakened.
But the human doesn't belong here. She needs to go home.
Shall I prepare the return spell?
Do. I grant you permission to use my energy to power the spell.
With a nod, the lanky man held out his hand towards the wall. I looked over in the direction it was aimed at. Diana's shadow. I watched as Diana's shadow simply stood against the wall, mirroring the movements of the real succubus in the room. Before my eyes, the shadow began to morph and expand on the wall on its own. I looked back to Diana to see her wrapping her arms around herself and curling her shoulders over, as if she was in pain. Her nails embedded themselves into her forearms, and I could barely make out a painful hiss escaping her clenched teeth. Was the spell hurting her that badly? I turned back to the wall to see Diana's shadow shaking and vibrating, as if it was resisting the change the man was forcing on it.
You will obey my command. Open the gates to the void, and allow passage to the world we seek.
Transitum perenam pectum tenebris. Ubi aperiunt. Ianuio. Perceptium.
Upon Diana's final word, her shadow burst and expanded into an oval-shaped doorway. I stared wide-eyed at the passage before a hand placed itself on my shoulder, forcing me to look over. The one with the spear gently pressed my shoulder forward and looked down at me with almost a stern face.
You must leave now. The faster you leave, the quicker we can close the void.
Go! Go! Go get married!
I quickly nodded and lifted the bottom of my dress, stepping forward to make a run for the passageway. However, before I could bolt towards my freedom, a snarl echoed through the room.
How dare you interfere with my summoning!
At that very moment, Diana began to scream, arching her spine and throwing her head back. Around her body were red-tinted bolts of lightning, flashing and shocking her form.
No! Human! Use the passage! Now!
He didn't have to tell me twice. I bolted towards the portal, diving forward as I neared it, but I was forced back by your burst of energy and a flash of red light. I fell to the floor, almost slamming my head onto the stone.
No!
Human will never, ever leave this world alive! You spineless worm!
Close the portal! The Demon Lord might get through!
But the human...
Close it!
As commanded, the man pulled his hand back, visually forcing his arm back behind his body, and Diana's shadow quickly began to morph back into a simple shadow. The electricity around Diana faded away, and she began to tip forward. The man with the spear dropped his weapon and caught Diana in his arms, cradling her to his body as she panted and gasped for air.
I don't sense the Demon Lord anywhere.
The worm has to scurry through the shadows to try and fight back. He'll be dead soon enough.
How is she, guard?
Diana seemed to look uninjured, but her body was twitching from the aftermath of the magical attack. Her visible eye was shut tight as she dug her fingers into the guard's jacket and to cling to him. I kind of wish there was an image of that, too. As her eye opened, I saw not a blood ruby red color, but I saw a cold and unfriendly golden color painted over her irises. Her mouth opened as she panted for air, and I could see hunger in her facial expression. But she continued to stare at the wall, not wanting to make eye contact with anyone.
There are no physical wounds, but she's been weakened. I must give her my energy so she can recover.
The man swiftly moved and hooked an arm underneath Diana's knees, lifting her up bridal style as she clung to his jacket, shivering. The spear that had fallen to the floor faded into black and purple mist as he quickly left the room with her in his arms. My mind, however, began to panic. I couldn't go home. Why was I being forced to stay? Damn the Demon Lord, this wasn't right.
There's an imp in the castle. That is the only way the Demon Lord could have been able to interfere.
You! Guards by the door! Hunt it down!
A pair of guards that were apparently by the others saluted the one commanding them and ran off. I felt out of place, alone, terrified as to what was going to happen. The Demon Lord wanted me here, and his words pounded at my mind. How was I going to get home? Would I ever be able to go home?
Hey.
I looked up to see the winged person hovering near me before they moved and sat on their knees on the stone ground beside me.
We'll get you home, okay? Diana just needs a little rest, okay? She needs more than rest. She needs to use a different spell to send her back. The Demon Lord will expect her to use the shadow spell again.
How about the normal way? I'm sure we can connect to a witch, or even the warlock she used before, to reopen a portal to the human world.
The warlock she used to get to the human world died, remember? And he was the most powerful warlock in the human world. Practically a god himself. What other human could be used to open a portal without another human dying?
It was merely a suggestion. The faster we get this human home, the faster we can move on and finish off the Demon Lord.
Well, what are we going to do with the human now?
We can give her a room to rest in. Humans need sleep after all. Maybe by the time she wakes up, we'll think of a solution. Come.
The woman with rabbit ears looked down at me and lowered her hand to me, inviting me to take it. She had a kind but concerned expression on her face, so I trusted her. I slowly took her hand and began to stand up as the fairy figure brushed off the small patch of dust that had accumulated on my dress. I couldn't do anything. I was forced to listen to the beings around me because there was nothing else I could do. Without them, I couldn't get home. My heart ached, but I had to accept my predicament.
Here, I'll bring you to the open ambassador's room. You are free to rest there for now.
I will say, what about Diana? The floating person giggled softly as the woman with rabbit ears cleared her throat.
She'll be fine. She's being taken care of right now.
Why not just say she's getting
He's so blunt.
And the brute strikes again with the lack of tasteful filtering between his brain and his mouth. You still have yet to prove me wrong about my expectations of you.
Keep testing me, assassin. I'm not afraid to rip your spine out of your body and use it as a back scratcher.
You can very well try, Brood.
Ugh! Would you both knock it off?
Come, everything will be taken care of.
Before I could protest, the woman led me out of the room and into the hall. And with that, guys, I'm going to end this episode right here, and I will see you guys in another episode. Talk to you guys soon. And remember, guys, to leave a like if you like this video. You can always share it with your friends, and you can always drop me a comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, you can always subscribe. You can always drop me a line down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Talk to you guys later. If he was watching, he would have seen the spirit dancing with me.
That's a pig!
A good relationship.
Oh, now my buddy just joined him, and I can't get past him unless he comes out. Come on out.